Welcome back, everybody. I'm Danny, and this is the Stock Car Surplus YouTube channel. Today, we're going to start on prepping the Toyota Tundra for our first track day of the year. We're going to be taking it to Carolina Motorsports Park for a full day of road racing. First, I need to change out the sail panel in the right side window of the truck. This is the one that was originally in it, and as you can see, it's much narrower and smaller than this one. I wasn't able to fit a 3-inch carbon duct in this particular sail panel, so I made a new one at the shop this week. I popped a hole in it with a dimple die, and it's contoured to fit the back of my blower duct. We're going to mount this in the right side window right here, and it will allow us to feed our CO2 filter and helmet blower that we're going to mount inside the truck. Once we're done with all of this, we're going to add fluids to the truck. 110 octane race fuel, Mobil 1 synthetic oil. We're going to roll it outside, heat it and prime it, and we're going to fire it for a leak check. We're going to check the level of water in the radiator, and if we need to, add some distilled water. After that, we're going to get it loaded on the truck. Let's get started, guys. One of the first things we need to do today is we need to fill our dry sump tank. When I stored the truck over the winter, I pumped it down and I cleaned the tank and I changed the filter underneath the hood. The tank is empty. We're going to put some oil in it and we're going to start heating it and priming it now. It's going to take approximately an hour to get the entire 5 gallons up to the temperature that I want before we fire the truck. So I'm going to dump the oil in now, and while it's heating, I'm going to go ahead and start mounting my ductwork on the right side and getting my carbon filter and my blower mounted inside the truck. So let's dump some oil in it, and then we're going to start working on the truck itself. This is 5 gallons of Mobil 1 synthetic. We're going to dump some in, then we're going to prime it. When we prime it, we're going to pump it down, get some into the oil cooler, the filter, and the lines. Then we're going to add some more, and we're going to get to about 9 to 10 inches from the bottom of the tank. That's where this truck runs at. So we're going to dump some in now. This is Mobil 1 synthetic. I get it filled from a 55-gallon drum, and I put it in this actual fuel jug to transport it. The only thing I ever put in here is oil, and I fill it with the same oil every time. That's 2 gallons. So what we're going to do now is we're going to hook the drill to the dry sump pump under the engine, and we're going to pump it forward. Next, we're going to prime the system. We're going to use our DeWalt DW160V drill, and we're going to prime the oil pump down here on the right side of the engine. The tone of the pump and the tone of the drill will change once it starts to pull oil and begins to pull it under a load. This is a fresh Toyota Phase 14 engine. When I say fresh, it has less than 1,000 miles on it. It has dyno time and 4 track days. Once we get the oil up to temperature, we're going to add fuel to it, roll it outside, and fire it. Now that we've pumped the system down, I have a custom-made dipstick to re-dry sump tanks. I made this a couple of years ago. It's marked in 1-inch increments, and it's stamped with the actual number of inches on it. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to pull the funnel out. I'm going to put the dipstick in the tank. I'm going to check the level and see where we're at after we pumped it down. Right now, we're at just about 4 inches. So we're going to add a couple more gallons, and we'll check it again. I know this particular system holds right at 4.5 gallons, which is going to leave some in the jug for me. Right now we're at 10 inches. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pump it through, and we'll start heating it. I'll stick my breather hose back on the top. And then we'll go back to the front and pump it some more. Now that we've pumped it through a few times and we've got most of the oil circulated back through the filter, the lines, into the engine and pan, we're going to hook up our heater box. It reads the temperature probe in the tank and it also powers the actual heater probe in the tank. We're going to hook that up and I'll show you how that box works and how it's designed. This is my temperature control box. This is what I use to heat the oil in the truck. It has a preset on it and an actual temperature reading. We're going to hook this up, we're going to put 110 power to it, and I'll show you how we heat the oil in the truck. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to hook up our 110 power outlet and our temperature probe to the truck itself. These are going to hook here inside the truck. There's a clamp here that I have a 110 receptacle. It's rated for 25 amps, and I have a K-type coupler to read my temperature. So we're going to plug this in here. We're going to plug our temperature probe in here. I'll set my box here and we'll plug 110 power into it. We'll turn the box on and it lights up. Right now it's telling me my oil temperature is at 67 degrees and I have it set to shut off automatically at 200 degrees. Once it gets to 200, the box will turn off the relay and it will stop allowing 110 power into the oil tank. When this gets to about 120, I'll pump it through and we'll continue to heat the oil evenly and we'll cycle it through the engine a few times. This is a better look at the heater control box. Like I said, this is the actual temperature of the oil. And this is where it's going to stop at. Once we get to 200 degrees, it'll turn off an internal relay in the box and stop allowing 110 power to the tank. Here's the actual hookup in the truck. As you can see, my 110 power comes in here. Here's my actual K-type thermal coupler on the top, and it runs to the back, comes through the back of the cab here, goes down into my oil tank, and it actually heats my heating probe. I have a band, a probe, and a temperature reading element in this tank. Once it gets up to temperature, we're going to start cycling it through. Now, while we have the oil tank heating and we're waiting for it to get up to temperature, we're going to go ahead and we're going to mount our screen and our ductwork to the sail panel. It's going to mount here in the truck, and we're going to run some 3-inch duct hose to our actual helmet blower. Let's get this put together, and then we're going to mount the hose inside the truck, and I'll show you where I'm going to place the actual CO2 filter and the helmet blower. The first thing I need to do is I need to get my ductwork and my screen mounted here. So I dimple dyed this so that it would meet the radius of the inside of my carbon ductwork, and it fits really nice. I've also taken my screen and I've used the dimple die to push it down and give it a nice curve to follow that contour as well. The other thing I did was I took a larger punch and I just opened up the holes for my rivets through the screen so that it would capture it. What we're going to do now is we're going to get all this mounted. We're going to get a couple of rivets in it and we'll get it bolted into the truck. I'm using steel shank 1/8-inch rivets with a backup washer. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to put one on and I'm going to squeeze it just one small pull, just so that it has tension on it to hold it in place while I line the rest of them up. So that'll hold there, and we'll get the rest of these lined up. This one comes through here. Throw, oh, damn it. Throw a washer on here, and then I'll pull both of these down completely. Gives my screen a nice flush look. Now I've got all four in. My screen is nice and recessed, mounted flush on the inside. The back, it's mounted nice and flush, plenty of room for my screen. What we're going to do now is we're going to mount this in the truck and we're going to check our oil temperature. Right now we're at 156, so we're gonna spin it around, pump some warm oil into the engine, and then we'll come back and check it again. Our oil temperature is just about right, so now we're gonna put 5 gallons of fuel in it. This is VP 110, and I built this particular fuel filler out of a Schultz head. I'll show you some detail about it. I'm gonna build one for the Supra as well, but it makes filling up for a track day easy. We're gonna put 5 gallons in. I drained it over the winter and ventilated it, but we're gonna dump 5 gallons in so we can roll it outside and start it. We're gonna transport it to the track with 5 gallons in it. And when we get there, there's fuel at the pump at the track, but we also bring about 150 gallons, 3 55-gallon drums with us. But this is just enough to get it started. So our inlet duct work is done. I took it outside and I actually masked off the screen and I resprayed it. I didn't like the contrast of the actual silver aluminum from the rivets. So now we're gonna get this bad boy installed. Like everything, or just about anything, putting all of my hardware in loose until I get it where I want it. And that's the installed finished product. I think it actually came out pretty good myself. So what we're gonna do now is we're going to take some 3-inch black hose. We're gonna run it from here to where I'm gonna mount my actual helmet blower down inside the truck. I'm gonna get it and I'm gonna use the cutaway car to show you how it actually mounts to the actual roll bar. But what I'm gonna do before I clamp it down there is I'm gonna put some black gaffer's tape around the tube so it doesn't destroy the paint. Now this is the simplest and easy way that I can show you how this mounts. It will actually saddle a roll bar tube here, clamp over, catch the hook that's TIG welded to the hose clamp, and then lock into place. So when it's on the car, well actually when it's in the truck and it's clamped into place, it would look more like this. Lay it in there, take your clamp, hook your clamp, and it's locked in place and it's not going anywhere. That's how we're gonna mount it in the truck. So this is where I wanna mount it. What I'm gonna do now is put some gaffer's tape around the roll bar so the clamps don't actually eat it up real bad. And now we'll clamp it in place. Locked in place, that's not going anywhere. I'll make a pigtail wire harness to go into my Deutsch connector. Then we're gonna hook our hose from here up there to the back of that duct. We're getting up there again in temperature. We're getting close to that 200. So let's go ahead and spin it over and prime it again. We're down to 145. I think I'll let it cycle one more time back up to 200, prime it again, and then we're gonna roll it outside and light the fire. While that's warming up one last time, let's get our hose installed. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna lay this across the back of the truck for now, because I wanna come in underneath the back of the ductwork here. We're gonna come in here. I've got my hose clamp. It's an old school one. I say old school, but it brings back memories. I found it in my tote, and it actually still says BSR on the sticker. Imagine that. Shout out to Butch Stevens. So let's pull this through. And I might actually have to climb in here to do this. All right, let's climb in here and get this done. We'll get this on here, spin it around. Here's our finished product. So there's the ductwork, there's the sail panel. Coming around the back, you can see where it's clamped in, runs down, goes to our carbon CO2 filter, our helmet blower, and into the helmet hose. The next thing I need to do is tie the hose up, because this is going to go into my helmet. It's going to come up over the back of the seat. So I'm going to tie that up, and then from here, I'm going to put a Deutsch connector on an extension. I'm going to make a lead that comes up across our roll bar here, and then goes into the dash to a switch over on the left side to turn my helmet blower on. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to wipe all this out where I was walking, wipe out underneath the package tray in the back, put the covers back on the rear, put the battery in, then we're going to roll it outside and fire it. We're almost there. Oil temperature is just about right. What I'm going to do now is pull my carburetor hat off. When I store it over the winter, I cap off the carburetor and I cap off the exhaust as well. We're going to set this aside, and I'm going to fill the carburetor bowls front and rear, and this is going to bring the float level up, and then we'll fill the accelerator pump. Once we get the accelerator pump filled, it'll squirt. There we go. And this will allow the engine to run off the fuel in the bowls until it's able to pull it through the empty line through the mechanical fuel pump. And that's going to do it. Let me get a rag and dry that up. And we are just about ready to roll it outside and fire it. So we're getting close. I just primed it. Brought the oil temp down to 152 on the dash. Let's see what our gauge says on the dash. We're at about 140. So once we get it up to about 180, then we're going to fire it. So we've got to cycle it at least 1 or 2 more times. All right, let's check the dash. All right, we're at 180 on the box and 180 on the dash. Let's put the oil pump belt on it, and we're going to push it outside, and we're going to start it. The truck runs really well. I am going to put a new set of spark plugs in it before the track day event next week. Nothing leaks, everything's good, water level is good, fuel and oil pressure are perfect. She runs great. In this configuration with that Phase 14 and an 830 carburetor, it makes 812 horsepower. With a 390 Xfinity Truck Legal Series carburetor on it, this motor made 612. I'm happy with the way everything's turned out so far. I'm gonna make a wiring harness for my helmet blower to go up to the switch panel. I'm gonna do that and take a break and let it cool down. I'm gonna come back out and then we're gonna load it on the trailer. In the meantime, I'm gonna go eat lunch and I might even mow the grass. Stay tuned. This was the pigtail that was on my helmet blower when we put it in the truck. I'm taking this off, we're gonna get rid of this. I am gonna save the end of it. The actual connector itself is still good. So we're gonna pop this open real quick. If you've never used these or seen these, they are a reusable connector and the ends crimp onto them. They have a weather-tight gasket, and unlike a weather pack fitting where some of them you have to push the wire through the fitting then crimp the end of it on, you don't have to do that with this. We're going to save that one and put it here. If you look at it, it has the actual terminal on the end of it, and you crimp it with a set of Deutsch pliers like this. You can preset the gauge of wire, and it is a single crimp. So once you squeeze it, all 4 of those teeth crimp down on it, and you get a firm solid crimp all the way around your connector. So we're going to get rid of that one. I've already taken another connector and put it on this wire harness here. This is 14 gauge, 60 volt, 60 amp max rating. We're going to use this. Now I'm going to run this harness directly to my switch panel in the Tundra. The reason being is that if you look at the end of these switches, they say 25, 15, and 30. So these are breakered switches. So once you hook your harness to this and you have power to it, if there's a short or a fault, it will trip the switch back out and you have to manually reset it or find the fault within the circuit, fix the fault, and then you can reset the switch. So we're going to wire this directly to a breakered switch in the Tundra, and then we're going to get it loaded on the trailer. The first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to pull the steering wheel. So we're going to remove our dash top. I'm going to take my harness. I'm going to plug it in. And now I'm going to figure out my best avenue of approach for wiring this. I think originally I wanted to go down the bar here and right into the dash, but I think I'm going to go behind the driver's seat and right into the switch panel. I think that's going to be my best avenue of approach. So let's run it around here, get a loose estimate of what we're going to need, and then we'll cut it off. And we'll secure that harness there. So let me get some cable ties. I've got some thin line cable ties in my flush cuts. And we'll get in here and we will support both sides of this harness. Once I get all these installed, I'll come back with my flush cuts and snip them clean. Perfect. I'll route this in and under our dash, underneath the front here. Hey, what's up? What are you up to? Want to go for that walk? Then I'm going to put some heat shrink sleeve on here. Then I'm going to crimp on my terminal, and then we'll heat it and hook it to our switch. Once we get it connected to the switch, then we're going to hook the ground. Up next, we're going to load it on the truck. Well guys, that's it. It's been a long day. I've got a few more things to load in the trailer. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video. Subscribe, comment below, tell me what you think about it. And the next time I see you guys, we're going to be at the racetrack.